And we are back with another l'édition of the Astro Weather. What's happening, everybody? You know, I am streaming simultaneously over on Facebook, although I'm not sure how many people are actually watching, but it's okay because it makes me feel like I'm doing something a little extra to continue to grow this fantastic brand and this fantastic community known as Chattaria. So how is everybody today? Man, yours truly has had a pretty rough morning. I gotta say, man. Last 72 hours since Monday, physically for me, has not been fun. Let me just tell you that. You know, I don't want to sound like one of these. Well, you know, I had this pain the other day, and it just came out of nowhere. And I'm like, where did it come from? God damn it. I gotta figure out how you're in a goddamn pain. So I saw this commercial for this turmeric on TV, and it sounded great. So I bought a bunch of this turmeric, and I'm still trying to figure out whether it's working or not. I mean, yeah, astrologically, let me just say this. Let's make this astrological. This fucking South Node in Virgo has not been fun for yours truly. It's been cool for a while, right? Like, hey, man, I'm going to go down to my fourth house. I'm going to hang out with that True Node in Pisces. I'm going to learn how to kind of go with the flow without dissipating my essence. Yeah, that's an interesting exercise. You ought to try that one of these days, because it's easy to just go with the flow and then just forget about yeah, I'm just going to go with the flow. Yeah, I'm just going to go with the crowd. Yeah, I'm not going to make any waves, right? A lot of people do that. Life is easy when you just go with the flow like that. But if you go with the flow, but don't dissipate your essence, that is a really interesting exercise, because you get to distill, in this regard with Pisces, a deeper, I hate this word, but I'll use it nonetheless, more inclusive version of what's available in the moment, right? Because normally I'm coming from a Virgo tip, right? I mean, I got a lot of other things going on, but I come from a Virgo tip, which is about differentiation. It's about analysis. It's about critical theory, but not in the, like Foucault. You know what I'm talking about? Throw some Scorpio in there, and it's a good, clean, deconstructive analysis. Like, that's where I come from, generally. But these nodes have flipped on me. And so I've been learning to go into that Piscean true node, which is where my South Node is, by the way, and figure out how to be more inclusive. I hate the word, but it's true. But at the same time, refine the distillation of self. And here's what I've come to: that you can absolutely 100% get your point across. And at the same time, there's a way to make sure that other people don't feel like they're being lectured to. It's been a really interesting exercise. I have to say, that part I've enjoyed. That part has helped me refine my communication skills. The part that I haven't liked just recently with this Mars thing is the physical stuff. That has not been fun. And I didn't see that coming. I'm like, okay, I know this is all going to go down. I've seen it. South Node hit all my Libra planets. Hey, it's cool. I survived. My relationships were intact. Everything's fine, right? But it's the physical stuff with Virgo that has really hit me in a way that I did not expect. And the other thing too, and this is something that was really flashing through my brain over the last week, 2 weeks, when I was just like, man, I'm just not feeling really. I don't have any juice. I mean, a lot of you people are in the same position, right? You're just powered down, exhausted, batteries drained. And yeah, I mean, there's stuff going on so many levels. But for me, there's also this Neptune Mars square in my chart, which is going to be going on until after February of this year. And I'm like, oh yeah, Neptune Mars square. Yeah, I can't really push it too much, can I? That's the nature of it. So when you're, and I know a lot of you are this way anyway, you know about your charts, and you know these things are happening or they're going to happen, but until they happen, they're kind of an abstraction. I mean, you could do the formula, like you could run the algorithm and say, well, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. But until you get into it, until you are really in the clinches of some of these transits, it's like, oh shit, yeah. There's the there here. I'm feeling the there. So, I haven't been able to sleep for shit for the past couple of days. And I decided to go to the gym and train my trainer because I thought, at least if I got really tired, right, or worked my physical body more, I'd be able to apply that to going to sleep. And I was right. It helped. And then probably about 2:30 in the morning or so, I went to bed at around 11:30. All of a sudden, I have this absolutely here I'm the old guy now. This tremendous pain that's emanating from just below my right rib, my low right rib. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? How did this get here? It's like I'm flashing on South Node, Virgo, Mars. I'm like, oh, okay, I got to deal with this now. So I have it. It's a lot better than it was at 2:30 in the morning. I have no idea what it is, but I am working assiduously. I'm working so assiduously. I have skipped my stimulants this morning and I'm drinking lemon water. I know a lot of you out there would be proud of me. Brandy's had that pain for 3 days. Go to the doctor. It's your gallbladder. Well, we'll see what happens. Gallbladder, dude. We'll see what happens. It's better than it was. I took some Tudka. So anyway, thank you, Lamb Chop 641. I'll let you know how it goes. It's better than it was at 2:30 in the morning. Let's put it that way. All right, who do we have here? We got the man himself, DJ MC, and we got DJ BD. Benito been making some groovy tunes, some tasty tunes. Brandy Herrera in Tulare. Tulare. Whoa. It's Thursday. Hello, Steve. Lady Lou is here. Josie Jazzy Junk. Now that is an awesome aquarium. That'd be cool, wouldn't it? You're one of these they used to call it skin diving, didn't it? Now it's deep sea diving. You're a skin diver. When I was a kid, I used to pretend I was a skin diver. That TV show Sea Hunt with Lloyd Bridges was very popular. I used to pretend I was Lloyd Bridges, my little plastic raft. blow up rafts and goggles. I go on it. This is a plastic pool. But imagine stumbling upon an ancient civilization like that. Wouldn't that be a trip? Because we know they're there. Catherine Rosen's here. What's up, CR? Stephen, the pescatarian's here. Who else? Diane Evans. Janine. Hi, Janine. Tommy Jordan. Tommy Jordan. I think Frank Jordan was the mayor of San Francisco for bad rain. There he is, the most interesting man in Wisconsin. The big cheese. PB's here. Don't forget that like and subscribe. That's right. Thanks for the reminder. Kelly B's here. Kelly B has the nicest. Kelly B, I've never commented on your thumbnail. You have a very nice thumbnail. Hanging Laundry. Stephanie Hunter. Hi, Stephanie. Laura E. Nighty Cups. What's happening, Nighty Cups? Brian Scott. What's up, back? Yes, you can buy yours truly a cup of coffee here. Lamb Chop 641. A formal hello and greeting. I'm feeling actually much better than I was at 2:30 in the morning. I'm telling you. You know what else I did this morning? See, this is self-care. I went into my little infrared sauna kit. It looks like a something from the 1950s, right? It's like you step in it, you zip the shit up, you turn it on, and the infrared element kicks in. You get all sweaty. I did that this morning, and I followed it up with a cold shower. So we're working it. We're working it. Let's see. MGK 1966. What's up, 66? Wallanda. There's my man, Mark S. So, brother Mark. Great to see you. The new next. The new next. That is an interesting name. Larry David. That's an interesting kind of name. The new next. What do you mean by that? If you're next, aren't you going to be new? I mean, doesn't it kind of defeat the purpose? Because next is new, isn't it? Why are you the new next? Maybe you could just be next. But I think there has to be some importance with new and then next. Could you just imagine Larry David having that conversation? I could. Let's see. Hey, Bill Smith. This agent says no joke. Yes. Yes. I understand it completely. Nighty Cap says my body feels like it is wrecked. We put a lot of miles on these vehicles. You know, if you're on Craigslist and you're looking for a car, right? Or like 280,000 miles. Maybe not that much, maybe 250. Some cars you can get a good 350 out of them. Shit. You get some of those old Mercedes. The thing about the old Mercedes, the engines will run forever. You could put 600,000 miles on those diesels. What they don't tell you is that it's all the other little shit that starts to fall apart in those cars. Wow. Okay, this is interesting. Now, Steve, when I first wasn't sure I was going to be able to figure out what Dave, your routine is different, brother. You got a whole different routine now. That's got to be interesting. Helps if we be honest about it. You know, look, Laura E., that's such a great comment. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you. I won't buy American Eagle jeans, not because of the commercial, but now I know who owns them. Very interesting, Rich J. I don't know about American Eagle jeans, but all I know is that I want to be Pedro Pascal and I want to be with Sydney Sweeney. Don't ask me why. I just had this come over me. I want to be Pedro Pascal. And I want to be with Sydney Sweeney. There's nothing else that's more important in my life. than becoming him and being with her. Have you ever seen two people more exposed than Pedro Pascal and Sidney? For a while, I haven't. Josie, she cross-contaminated the waffle mix with Hub's pancake mix. That's a bad move. You never want to do that. Elsbeth Heron. Hello, Elsbeth. I got progressed Mars and Virgo. Holy shit. Well, you know what? Just get a lot done. Make the best of it, right? Become a healing practitioner or something. You know what I mean? Healing warrior. Oh, Diane Evans fell asleep outside last night trying to watch the meteor showers. I hope you saw some. Hi, Cassandra Lynn. Moira, crazy 9 days. Celebrated next rotation around the sun. We missed you too. We missed you too, Moira. Like, where's Moira been? Where the hell is she? Let's see. Hanging laundry. I'm headed to the zoning office to file my septic tank inspection. You know what I thought you said? I thought you said, I'm heading to the zoning office to lie about my septic tank inspection. No, I don't. I've been there. Been there, done that. Station 8. Hey, man, good to see you. Oh, come on. I'm getting some blowback here. Our dear friend Joan was trying to help me, and I love her to death. I love her to death. She's great. She was working real hard today to try to get me up and running. And I appreciate that. She did a great job. Well, I would have helped you too, by the way. But I am feeling better. And a big thanks goes out to Joan for doing that. So there we go. Let's see. Who else do we have here? Let's see. Magic Mika from Rock Castaldo Land. Hello. Good to see you. Love getting jobs in, but especially help. But shit. Everyone I know is a physical accidents. Lamb Chop 641. I have that. As a Virgo rising, I've enjoyed yesterday. Well, good. Good. Let's see. Who else do we have here? Go to the doc. I think I'm okay. No pain for Stephen today. Coffee is actually good for the gallbladder. That might be on my menu. Ratchet Boo is here. Hi, Ratchet Boo. Let's see. Hey, looks I'm not alone here. Benito says I've gotten the same pain every so often. Been doing it off and on for what seems like a few years. They tell me gallbladder, so it must be the gallbladder. Stephen, we're going to skip the commentary on your anal procedure. But I'm glad it's working out for you. Let's see. Jay Scheffler is here. Who else we have? Who else? Infrared is excellent. That was on my chunk of Piedra. I have not thought about it. I know of it. Let's see. Anybody else? There has never been anyone like me. I would agree with that. I know who the new next is. And I'm in agreement with that. For sure. Let's see. Lana Winkler, Sharon Lewis. Yeah. Sharon's got an interesting point. I want to put this up here. USA is the only place on Earth where we do not deform parasites, viruses, bacteria make up a large part of these meat suits. That's true. It's true. Totally. Love the shirt. Thank you. Misaki got this for me in Japan. I'm very attached to this shirt. Hello, Bo. How are you? Zoomer chicks are dressing like Spice Girls now. They like them short skirts, don't they? They really do. Not to be rude, but I'm a woman. Well, you don't have to be rude. Thank you for the clear. Sometimes it's hard. But thank you, Station 8. Appreciate it. You're not the first person that's had me enlightened about your genetic origination to some degree. Maya Rose is there. Hi, Maya. I think we're up to speed, aren't we? Naked Truth. I'm cuter than Pedro. Pedro's weird. I'm just saying, man, he's everywhere. He is everywhere. And there's Esperanza Venstero. All right. Okay, here we go. There it is. All right. Sometimes you gotta clear the air a little bit. Yeah, I mean they've really fucked up our diet, haven't they? I mean, anybody with half a brain understands what's going on here. It's like a combination of glyphosate and seed oils and all the various dyes and high fructose corn syrup, and then the elephant in the room is everything that's genetically modified, which nobody ever really talks about. Seed oils are not good. They go right to the front of the line. But if you're eating a tomato that's been spliced with a Atlantic cod gene, that's how's that going to affect your long-term health? And they're not being very straightforward at all with the genetic modifications of the food we're eating. So it's not just the things that go into the food, it's the very food itself. Even our wheat has been completely manipulated. I mean, for the longest time, we had the same kind of wheat that they have in Italy, France, places like that. And then they got into this weird, I'm sorry, the metaphor is kind of strange, but they got into this weird hybrid of cross-pollinating North American wheat with African wheat. Where have you heard that one before? Anyway, it creates a different kind of wheat. It's a wheat that actually grows faster and tends to be a bit hardier, but we have had thousands of years of eating a particular kind of wheat. And now they're giving us this other wheat, and our system does not have the enzymes to break it down. You throw that on top of that, you have Monsanto and you have glyphosate and it's just bad. And then people start getting sicker earlier and earlier. They're starting to go to the hospital like sometimes in their teens, 20s, 30s, and then boom, they're on the insurance cocktail, right? This is what it's all about now. You go in there and you've got these weird little symptoms, and they kind of look at it They go, oh, okay, your insurance will cover this. We're going to give you this, take care of that. And that's it. That's it, right? It's like there are good doctors out there, don't get me wrong. But now it's just all about symptomatic care. That's all it's about. Symptomatic care. And it just gets worse because your body gets used to their drugs. You build up resistance. Well, we have a new one. Let's try this. We'll cut back. It's just terrible, and I know that Bobby Kennedy's trying to make a difference here, but these institutions are so deeply entrenched that I just don't know how one guy is going to be able to do this. Taking some dyes out of some food, I think is a great step, right? But until we get rid of the glyphosate and until we get real, I think having these companies go more towards like tallow for their fries, like that's just kind of happening, right? That's happening on its own accord. But getting into the genetically modified fruits and vegetables, that is the code that has to be cracked. Because if people knew what was in their food, they would not be really happy about it. Europe, for all of its horrible migration policies, has very strict rules on genetically modified food. Very, very strict. So at the very least, they're still getting reasonable food from their system. The Mediterranean diet, I know, is very popular, but you got to live in the Mediterranean or else you're not going to get all the goodies, right? So anyway, we got a real issue there. Russia has the strictest rules. Well, do you know why it does? I'll tell you why it has the strictest rules. It was because of the sanctions. And when the United States started to lay the sanctions on Russia, there was this Netflix series about all the great chefs of the world. Some of them you wouldn't know. And there was a Russian guy. And the first thing that Putin did is he removed every food product from the U.S. Every food, it didn't matter what it was. It could have been canned. It could have been frozen, whatever. He's like, we're done. And it forced the Russian people to figure out, what are we growing? What are we good at? What's in our environment? And it kicked off this revolution in Russian food and Russian cuisine, which I have never been a big fan of, except for chicken Kiev. But this guy was doing amazing stuff. And so there's probably a really good chance that kind of oversight would have been extended into the growing of the food. So thank you for that. It was when I saw that, I thought, whoever Putin was at that time, I'm like, that was great. Oh, David. Yeah, I've been around David's diet. David last night said he eats anything in fast foods and still uses fluoride toothpaste because he says he transmutes it all. Bless. Another Leo rising says the same thing. Maybe they can. I can't. There's no way I can. I'd like to. I'd like to be able to, indulge in fast food every now and then, but it winds up having a bad experience on me. Okay. All right, let's get into the weather. All right. Let's see. All right. Here we go. We're there. You know, I like this kind of newer, more relaxed format. It feels a little more natural. There we go. Okay. So here we go. Mercury retrograde. Right there. We're getting close to the sun. It's going to actually, you can't really see Mercury, right? You can't really see it. But when it goes retrograde, it does literally go behind the sun. So it's a shift. Right? So tomorrow we'll have, I mean, this is a conjunction, don't get me wrong. But we'll have an exact conjunction tomorrow. And it's not the warmest, fuzziest. Well, let me take that back. It can't be warm and fuzzy because it's Leo. Don't get me wrong. But the identification of the self with one's own thoughts, it doesn't get much more entangled than the Sun-Mercury conjunction in Leo. You get what I'm saying, right? And for a brief period of time, there are people that firmly believe who they are is based on what they say. And based on what they say, it reaffirms who. It's one of those days. That's not today, it's tomorrow. We're close. We're in the Dave Chappelle keeping it real territory. Right? And it's not quite at the doubling down effect, but you don't want to double down with Mercury Sun conjunction in Leo. But it's not a good, like, pride goes before the fall, right? It's not the best thing to do. So I would say definitely keep your eye on that, and try not to take things personally. This is a tough one because when you get into Leo, you get into, look, it's a fire sign, but of the 3 fire signs, it is the most emotional of the fire signs. Aries is very emotional. Let's just cut to the chase. Sagittarius can be emotional if it's, being moved by some holy or divine vision, or some zealous sort of, quest for truth or something like that. Right now, all of a sudden, Sagittarius is involved. They get all emotional. But if that's not happening, they're happy to just do their own thing. Leo's emotional because it rules the heart, and we're getting close. I'd say we're at peak emotional self-identification tomorrow, and a lot of people will say, well, this is Cazimi, and the sun kind of counteracts Mercury, and Mercury counteracts the sun, and they sort of blot each other out. I mean, I think there's some truth to that, but I also feel like, and this is no knock on other astrologers who have this opinion, I just feel like you have to work harder to get to the meaning. You know what I mean? You have to have a different kind of vocabulary to pull those two apart and just not necessarily summarily dismiss them and say they cancel each other out. They actually amplify one another to the point where whatever that planet is, in this case, it's the sun and Mercury, the amplification becomes so great that there's an over-identification with the conjunction. And with the retrograde, there are probably things you're going to want to monitor in terms of your speech, but it's almost impossible with Leo. Even if you're just trying to be kind to somebody and have an open heart, it can go sideways. Wow. And some people can say, why are you being so nice to me? Or, I just think that, your compliments or your commentary is just superficial bullshit. And I could get it. I understand it. I get it. You know what I've been doing lately? I've been watching, I said this yesterday, I'm watching reruns of that show Love Connection. And it really struck me that the 80s were such a different time. Right? I think that show premieres around 1981, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it continues to go through different iterations till about 1987. I think it's around for about 7 or 8 years. And what's fascinating is watching who these people were during, this is on Mercury retrograde, Leo love connection, right? And the men were considerably more manly. I mean, they were, a little borderline misogynist or but it's not intentional, right? Like this one guy who's really fit, he's in being into shape, and he's having the conversation with the woman he had gone out with, right? So he'd already picked her, they'd already had the date, and she was cute, and he was one of these dudes, and I said, "Oh yeah, Chuck, she looked really great. You know what else, Chuck? I noticed she'd lost some weight too." Like most times, you just don't go there. But she was happy, right? She was happy that he had noticed that she had lost this weight, and I'm like, "Wow, this is a very different time." The hairstyles completely different. I mean, most of these women had fucking Leo hairstyles, big hair. But what's interesting is that a lot of those people, like if they're there in like 1983 and they're 24 years old, right? So they would have been born 20 years before that, 1963 minus 4 puts them around 1959. So these are kind of like, a lot of these people are Pluto and Virgo people. They're young Pluto and Virgo, and yet the women are rocking these Pluto and Leo hairdos, big hair. And then the dudes are very funny. And I thought about this, right? It's like if you were a male back then and you were 24, 25, and you were in good shape, like you went to the gym, you rollerbladed. Did they have rollerblading? I don't know. Rode your bike. You were active and you were in good shape. And let's say you had a job as a, I don't know, regional sales, fitness equipment manager or some shit like that, right? Like, your life was wired. It was wired. You took care of your body. You had this job, and it was probably like not the most fascinating fucking job in the world, but it wasn't terrible either, right? Like, oh yeah, we got this new product coming on. It's called the treadmill. You're gonna love it. Treadmill? What is it? Well, you get to put it inside your house, and you get to walk on it, and you don't ever have to leave your house. What, are you crazy? When I exercise, I want to leave my. Trust me, this treadmill thing's going to be good. It's going to be big, right? Like, you could have these jobs, and you could, play around, and you had your sales team, and if you were a dude, like, you had it wired. You have your little apartment down in Marina Del Rey. You go to the gym, have a porn stash, work out, and then it's the love connection. And these guys were very unapologetically men, right? They were men. And they've this one guy, he even got a room for this woman at the Embassy Suites. Her own room, well, a room, right? And he had a rose in the backseat of the car, and boy, was she smitten with him, right? And of course, I don't know. Sometimes they'll give you a clue as to where they went. I mean, figuratively, but they just did stuff differently back, and it's fascinating going back with this Mercury retrograde in Leo and watching this serialized courtship between two people. And fascinating, really, really, because you really get a sense. Like, the other thing I will say, like, some of them were kind of interesting, but most of them really weren't all that. Every now and then, some of the women, I'm like, oh, you're kind of interesting. And because I thought to myself, like, I was around the age of being able to go on that show, Love Connection. And I thought to myself, and I knew who I was at 24, 23, 24. I knew who at least that version of me. And I would not have done well. I would not have done well. Not in that environment, and not at that time. It had no interest to me whatsoever. But I could see, like, I could just see where, for a lot of people, it was just easier. Roles were way more defined. It was okay to be a dude, even though you might be an asshole every now and then. And it was okay to be, a woman who took care of herself, even though some of these women who took a little bit too good care of themselves morphed into, like, kind of bitchy territory, right? Anyway, I highly recommend going back and watching some of these love connections with Mercury retrograde. It's in Leo. It's going to blow your mind. It's like a different freaking world. It's a different world. Like, today, people aren't even really into this idea of dating or courtship. It just seems like a echo of a distant memory. Now, what happens when Mercury moves back in the sun? Well, right now, there's a lot of kind of calculated, although Mercury retrograde in Leo, best laid plans of mice and men don't work. So the calculated part, anytime you have Mercury, this is a Pythian Mercury. Anytime you have a Pythian Mercury, in front of the sun, there's a level of calculation. You're thinking, you're taking in data, right? What do I do? How do I move? Who is this person? What should I say? Right? Like it's taking all that in. Once Mercury moves behind the sun, that's gone. And it is like raw, naked action. I'm sorry. I watched some of these love connections, right? And I think to myself, okay, because there's chemistry with some of these people, obviously. I'm like, all right. Like, how wild and freaky did they get? You know, once they got to the embassy suites or wherever it was they went. And then you look at certain people, they're like, oh, this one is a live wire. You just kind of tell, right? I'm sorry, it's my Scorpio rising. I have to go there. But this is going to be an interesting period with Mercury behind. It'll still be retrograde. And instead of things that are said that are probably going to have to be redressed at some point, it'll be the things that are done. Because that's how the sun works, right? It's like, I don't care. I'm throwing myself into this space. I'm throwing myself into the fire. And then Mercury on the other side collates the data and says, well, how was that? Are you going to do that again? And the sun says, I don't know. Let me think about it. Right? I mean, that's how this works. So between now and say, what, Friday? Today's Thursday. Now and Saturday, there's a slight filter in action. Over the weekend, the filter goes away. And it is this raw, naked heart pounding, pulsing under the Mesoamerican sun, getting ready to be plucked out by the dark shaman and held up to the sky god. It's a little dramatic, but if you've seen Apocalypto, you know what I'm talking about. What's interesting about this retrograde as it relates to our dear president is that he's a guy that a lot of times overpromises and underdelivers, right? So he's already walking back the Obama stuff. Well, he does have immunity. He's very, very lucky. Very, very lucky. He should thank me. I'm like, really? You're doing this again? You're pulling the old Hillary thing again? Classic Mercury retrograde. See, you're going to set out and do something, and then you walk it back. And look, is it possible that when Mercury goes behind the sun, he just acts, and all of a sudden people get what they've been clamoring for years? Arrests. Based on the patterns of the past, I find it very hard to believe. Now, this is a guy you also have to remember that is not going to run for election again. He got his omnibus triple B bill passed. He's good. He probably doesn't need a whole lot. He did go to the EU yesterday, and one of the things I don't know what was said behind closed doors, but he's striking all these deals for this and that. It's going to be great for. But you know what? I think it's really interesting that there is a greater amount of space between he and JD Vance. Like they're not supposed to be on the same plane at the same time. You can't do that, right? I mean, that doesn't happen. But if you, and I know that they perform different roles, but if you go back and look at Trump, well, Vance, when he was in Germany, he's like calling shit out. Like you fucked with one of your elections just because you didn't like the outcome. Your freedom of speech track record is absolutely horrific. And he didn't really get to the migrant piece, but if you'd given him enough time, he probably would have. And you don't hear anything about that with Trump. It's all about how great it was and how much he loves Ursula von der Leyen. And I mean, I think on some level he has to lay it on thick, because if he doesn't lay it on thick, he's gonna lose the room. He has to learn how to channel the power of positive thinking with Norman Vincent Peale. Let's talk about Venus. Venus just moved into Cancer, and it starts off with a challenging ingress. You can feel already. Venus squaring Neptune, squaring Saturn, and then coming into this kind of Mars square. It's going to continue with Mars, because Mars is going to move into Libra here shortly. I love Venus in Cancer. I love the homespun quality of it. I love the loyalty. I love the sensitivity. I love the ability of Venus and Cancer to just merge, right? There's to merge with your home, your environment, your children, on a interpersonal level. Venus and Cancer, when it feels really safe, beautiful. It's a beautiful Venus, right? I mean, it's just nurturing and caring, and has the energetic balance between the masculine and the feminine. I love Venus and Cancer. It doesn't start off well, though. There's a square to Neptune, and we start this transit off with misunderstandings. Now, if you look at this as a story for the next 30 degrees, this is the story of Venus and Cancer. Misunderstanding with the Venus-Neptune square, right? Trust becomes an issue. Venus-Neptune square. Do you give too much? Do you take too much? Does the other person take too much? Right? That's an issue. Venus-Neptune square. How, do you give to the point where you have nothing left to give? And is there some degree of deception that you become aware of with the Venus-Neptune square? Sometimes it's rose-colored glasses until they crack. And that's part of it, right? We're trying to figure out how we can maintain nurturing, caring, supportive, reciprocal relations in a time where that's being really stressed on a lot of different levels. Venus in Cancers tends to be very conservative, and you get Neptune coming in and squaring off against it, and it's like, it's challenged. It's really, really challenged. So you go one way and go all in, and God, country, Donald Trump, whatever, right? Like, you can do that. You could go all in all the way with a Venus-Neptune square and see where it takes you, right? See where it takes. It may take you to a place of, indescribable faith and belief. You might have a bit of a miracle, or you might realize that all that energy and emotion you put into it got drained out because promises not kept. Venus Saturn square. I have less of an issue with the Venus Saturn square. They're not sexy, but boy, do they have endurance, right? Like I think with Venus Neptune squaring, and you're having to sort through what's real, what's not real, like your emotions around it. I think the Venus Saturn square can be really, really grounding and can give you some staying power to hang in there with certain relationships. It's like, is it perfect? No. But does it work? Yes, when it's good. Right? Now, there is another side to it, which would be like, I'm done. Venus Saturn square, done. Right? But it's hard. It is hard to remove yourself from a relationship during Mercury retrograde. Just remember that. Breaking up under Mercury retrograde, invariably people will come back together again. So just giving you a shout out there. But now we've got the Venus Mars. We've had this for a while. There's tension, there's conflict, there's strife on the interpersonal world of relating. It's just the way it is. And we're coming out of those last degrees of Venus and Gemini. And that square with Mars, you kind of handle it, I think, a little bit. Because Venus and Gemini is really nimble and verbal and, kind of spar and play back and forth. It's not the case with Venus and Cancer. Venus and Cancer, people's feelings get hurt with a Mars square. So tread lightly with this, right? Tread very, very lightly and watch out for being overcritical with people. And you may not even know it, right? You may think, oh, well, I've shit talked with this person before and I can shit talk with them. Not under this Mars Venus square. People are not always, again, I love it, right? It's a nice place for Venus, but there's a vulnerability here. There's a real vulnerability with Venus. The only thing that we have going on with the Venus that makes any reasonable amount of sense is this ingress of the Libra moon into Scorpio. That's about 8 or 9 hours away tonight. That can be very therapeutic. Do not sleep on the Venus Scorpio trine, right? Like it can be very, very therapeutic. You get to the bottom of some relationship issues, right? Like could be deep, profound, and hell, you might even have some good sex as a result of that. But it's more of the psychological dimension, and it's more along the lines also of like our thumbnail, exploring these structures that are buried beneath our psyche. And, we get conditioned every single day by our routines. And this Venus trine Scorpio moon can be very profound and very deep. It doesn't last. It's really like tonight and early in the morning. And then we come back into this P square with Venus. I think this is a story for, because when we get into like an ingress of a planet, it's the story for the next 30 degrees, right? Now we do have a sextile going on with Chiron and Aries. I mean, and that part really started when Venus was a Gemini, but it's still there, and it's dealing with your wounds. It is dealing with your wounds, and I think there's two sides of this. Chiron and Aries, you stand up for yourself when you feel wounded, disrespected in relationship. That's fine, right? The other side of a Venus sextile with Chiron and Aries is that it allows you to explore more vulnerable nature, or the more vulnerable nature of your relationships in a way where you may say things or lay things out that you normally don't, right? It's like you get a shot of courage there. Is there anything else? Yeah, I did want to talk about this Jupiter Neptune square. You know, Trump met with Jerome Powell, 2 days ago, and Trump is, I don't know, how much these guys are involved in some kind of a circle jerk, because on some level they are, right? They're involved in some kind of circle jerk. So I'm not sure what it is with Powell, but let's just say it's real that Trump wants him replaced because there's no movement on the interest rates. And Trump, being a business guy, wants his buddies to get lower interest rate loans. I'm sure his buddies are doing just fine, but that's what he wants, right? And I think in some ways he also wants it for the American public, but that didn't come about. And we're right at the edge of that Jupiter-Neptune square and Jupiter-Saturn square. And I don't think he's going to go run back to Jerome Powell next week. But I would not be surprised if in 2 weeks' time, we do start to see some movement on the interest rate component of things. Yeah, I mean, there's more going on here as well. The True Node has gone into where is it? It's it's right at the end of the second decan, which is it's at the beginning of the second decan. So that's going to be in the Scorpio decan. Right? Let me so here 0, 10, here 10. No, so it's right here. It's going. So it's just dipping into Cancer land with that True Node, kind of underscoring some of the things that we've talked about. And I guess lastly, this Venus in conjunct Pluto, that's a bit of a shocker. That's a sticker price. It's like, what? You paid how much for that? Oh, I didn't think it cost that much. Anyway, okay, let's get into our true star of the day here. All right. Today was a tough day because there wasn't a lot of options. Every now and then you run into something like that with the true star of the day, the THS Star of the day. Let's do a banner. Here we go. All right, and we'll make this a little smaller, and we'll go here. All right, so our True Hemp Science Star of the day is J.K. Rowling. Let's talk about True Hemp Science. You guys know how much I love the product, and I was scrambling around looking for the sleep gummies last night. I couldn't find them. I know they're here somewhere because I really needed them. Anyway, True Hemp Science, your one-stop shop for anything CBD. Trust me, you won't find a better product anywhere else. You may find things that are comparable, but our guy Chris is the mad scientist. He's always tweaking his formulas. So whatever he's doing, a lot of it's very proprietary. Check it out. Go to truehempscience.com, spend $100 or more, and you will get the goodie bag, which is an order within the order. 150 or more, you get free shipping. And there's always a 30-day money-back guarantee. Now, the first thing I have to do with J.K. Rowling is I have to clarify that this is a rectified chart. And rectification is where certain events occur and you have to figure out like what went on at this time with a particular person. And if you can do that and get real close, you can kind of nail down the ascendant. It's a process. It's something that I do. Am I an expert at rectification? No, but you give me a 3-hour, 4-hour window, I'll get you real close to your ascendant. If you give me a 12-hour window, that's a whole other story and takes secondary progressions and all this other stuff. So this is rated as a C chart. And I thought, okay, Lois Roden rectification, I'll roll with it. I never really thought much about J.K. Rowling. I was never into Harry Potter, although I could tell you that if I was a kid in the 1960s, 7, 8 years old, and they had a version of Harry Potter, I might have been into it. It would have had to have competed with a lot of the spy stuff, though. So I'm going to be straight up. I know the series. I know Daniel Radcliffe. And that's it. And Alan, what's his name? He plays a bad guy, or I forget. They go to Hogwarts. And then they play this game on these flying pigs or something. Anyway, so not real interested in Harry Potter, but I became much more interested in J.K. Rowling as a persona when she started to talk about the whole trans issue. And she took a lot of heat for her position of a man being a man and a woman being a woman. And this is somebody who, and I know some of you will say, well, she might be a dude anyway. If she was a guy, J.K. Rowling would have been canceled. I mean, that's how, in our country, in the U.S., we don't understand how inflammatory those comments were to the LGBTQAI plus community in the United Kingdom and to perhaps a bit of a lesser extent in the United States. So I thought, well, all of a sudden she got real interesting. She stood up against the mob. Good for her. And there's a couple things here. First of all, she has Jupiter in Gemini, True Node in Gemini, Vesta in Gemini, right? All in the 4th house. And it's trining Mars, right? So she's got a bit of the spiritual warrior vibe there, and it's in the 8th house. So you're not always going to know where J.K. Rowling is coming from. But this is a woman who's kind of fierce, right? And she had this idea of, look, social justice isn't just under the domain of people who glue themselves to crosswalks or have the requisite blue hair or dump out all the milk products at a store. Social justice has become associated with those kinds of lame brain activities. Sorry, they are. However, there is a true social justice that is valid and real. Mars in Libra is the flaming sword of social justice, right? And it's got one side of the scale is to the left, and believe it or not, the other side of the scale is to the right. So Mars and Libra people, they need a cause. They need a cause so that they can wield that sword of justice. And she's got this trine going on with Jupiter. She's got a lot of courage. This woman's got a lot of courage. And she has this, she's one of these people, this Saturn Chiron conjunction. Again, happening right around this time, 65, 66. And it's a strange conjunction. It's the only conjunction of Saturn and Chiron that I know of, particularly in Pisces, right? They're hard, these Saturn. In fact, by the time Chiron moves into Taurus, Saturn will catch up with it. Saturn's at the end of Aries. So we're going to see another Saturn Chiron conjunction coming up here in 3 years. Chiron orbits are weird. Like they total 50 in summation, but it's not always even. Like Chiron can be in a sign for 4 years. Sometimes it's in a sign for, believe it or not, 3 years. And other times it can be in a sign for 8 years, 9 years. I believe it's been in Aries for almost going on 7 years, if I'm not mistaken. So she has this in conjunct with Mars as well. And that is with Saturn, right? And I feel like that's kind of driving her principle, you know? And I don't think J.K. Rowling is somebody who is unfair or unaware. But I also feel like once they started to put pressure on her, it's like, oh, okay, I see who you are now. It's almost like she stumbled into it a little bit, and then they made a much bigger deal out of it than it needed to be. And then the next thing you know, she's all in. Had they just left it alone, I don't think J.K. Rowling would have made the next part of her career all about defending the right for free speech, because that's really what she's doing. And, you know, it's the way it is, right? Now, the one thing that I have heard about J.K. Rowling for a very long time is that she didn't write the majority of the Harry Potter stuff. She had a lot of help. There was ghostwriters, teams of writers, right? It was a consortium of creatives. But of course, her name is on the cover of the book. So when you look at her seventh house, which is partnership, she has Mercury at 0 Virgo, Venus at 7 Virgo, and Uranus at 12 Virgo, Pluto at 14 Virgo. She has the vertex here. And then lastly, the moon at 23 Virgo. stellium in Virgo. And where is it? Well, for the most part, it's the 7th house, which is working with another person, right? It's like we're going to work with this other person or persons and create something. I don't think she did it on her own. I could be completely wrong, but based on this chart, I think that's the way it is. And she could certainly be a little shocking. You know, Uranus in conjunction with Venus, and then Mercury getting tossed in the sauce there and saying things that are, I can't believe she said that. Doesn't she know? Doesn't she know how many young LGBTQ people that she groomed with Harry Potter? That's true. That's the one thing I think that would be, I mean, I'm sure she's had the discussion in her brain. Like, if I believe this to be true, then how much of my work contributed to their decision to reassign themselves? I think it's an interesting question. She's got that Moon-Pluto conjunction. It's why she's not going to move off her position. Even with pressure, let's say Saturn is her publisher or whatever, right? And opposing Pluto and squaring Jupiter. This is not somebody who backs down. Not someone who backs down. Neptune is the highest planet in her chart. And it feels to me like this is where the writing goes, right? Venus in a very wide trine. And then we have Mercury kind of coming along for the ride there. And we have a Moon, Neptune sextile, right? And then the vertex in her 7th house, figuring out who she is in relationship to the other, right? So there is this kind of Neptunian fantasy endpoint, right? And then she's got this Sun Neptune. I think J.K. Rowling has had to overcome a lot of self-esteem issues and self-worth, especially if she's working with a team of writers, which she is and has been for a while. And I feel like there's been this nagging, not completely imposter syndrome, but it depends on the day for her. You might get some of that with her, or she might allude to it. Aquarius rising, she's going to be rebellious in her own way. And she has been. She has stood up to the mob and she's not bent the knee. She has not bent the knee. So good for you, J.K. Rowling. Good for you. She does her best work at home. Give that woman a word processor, a fireplace, a couple of glasses of wine, maybe a trusted cat or dog, and let her cook. Because that's where the magic happens. True Node in Gemini in the 4th house. Just sit at home. There you go. All right. There's your True Hemp Science star of the day. I think she's interesting. The interesting J.K. Rowling. The woman who did not take the knee. It's interesting, too, that there was a fitness guy who, I forget his, he's got one of these weird names, like Bobby Yoked or some shit like that. See if I can find it. You guys, this is a total Mercury retrograde kind of move. Let me see if I can find this. I think Matt Walsh did something with this. Let's see. Joey Swole. Joey Swole. Matt makes a really, really, every now and then, Matt Walsh will say something that's relevant. And he was talking about this Joey Swole guy. And Joey became this health influencer. And I'm going to play you the, this is totally Mercury retrograde, by the way. So here we go. Influencer Joey Swole posts a groveling apology for praising Hulk Hogan. He thanks the leftist trolls for educating him. Absolutely pathetic, inexcusable to cave to the woke mob at any time, but to cave to them in 2025, baffling. So Joey,
I owe my followers, my community.
Joey. He said something kind about Hulk Hogan. And if you're not aware, Black America is not like Hulk Hogan, because the Hulkster dropped the N-bomb on his daughter because she was dating a black guy. And he said, if she's going to date a black guy, I hope he's an 8-foot tall N-bomb, so at least she can make a shit ton of money in the he can make a shit ton of money in the NBA. That was about, from what I understand, that was a year ago. And Brooke Hogan, funny. When I worked at this digital music rights company, the guy that ran the company would go to Florida and hang out with Hulk Hogan. Because, they had the Osbourne. Isn't that weird, right? They had a reality show about the Osbournes. And then there's a reality show about the Hogans. And now they're both gone, right? I just thought that's odd. These guys both had reality shows. Anyway, he would go down to Florida, and he called him Terry. He would hang out with Terry. And Brooke Hogan, not an unattractive gal, a little thick, right? But she's a Hogan girl. Terry Bollea, believe it or not, he's Italian. Anyway, she was trying to be like a Jessica Simpson sort of singer. And one of the reasons why Hulk Hogan was having discussions with this company was because they had all this like Hulkmania stuff that he owned, and he could put it on Apple TV, but he also wanted to break his daughter as a singer in the Jessica Simpson mode. So yeah, that was part of the relationship. And was she any good? Nah, mediocre at best, right? Mediocre. Anyway, I guess somewhere along the way, as Spike Lee once famously scripted and directed, she got some jungle fever, and she started to, hang out with the brothers. And that was a year ago, and Hulk didn't like it, and he kind of went nuclear. And then he went through this like baptism thing, which I showed you. Comes out the other side. But apparently he died a year to the day after he put that post up about his daughter. And this guy here, Joey Swole, did a video praising Hulk Hogan. Now, this guy's an influencer. He's a big influencer, right? Build, physique. And he caught a lot of shit for it. So he has to walk it back and do the apology. Here we go.
My followers, my community, and all of social media an apology. A few days ago, I reposted an old video of me in the gym wearing a Hulk Hogan Halloween costume on the day that he passed. Last night in my live stream, a lot of people expressed how upset and frustrated they were with me that I had posted that. Instead of listening and understanding like I should have, I became defensive and said that I was posting to celebrate the wrestling icon, the person that so many of us looked up to as kids that we grew up with, that made us tear our shirts and take our vitamins and say our prayers. I didn't know to the extent of all the horrible things that he had done. Since last night, I have done a lot of research, talked to a few people, and learned all of the horrible, horrible things that man has done, which is way more than just making a mistake and being human. So because of that, I have taken the videos down, and I apologize to anybody that I offended. I am sorry. Also, during last night's live stream, I used the word colored instead of saying person of color, which is a very outdated, very offensive term. A few moments later, somebody educated me and told me that it wasn't okay to use that, which I immediately apologized to everyone and said I would never do that again. So once again, to anybody that I offended, I am sorry. You know, my whole page, my whole brand is based on holding people accountable and doing better. I would be a hypocrite if I didn't hold myself to the same standards. I am human. I am still growing. I am still learning. And I promise all of you, I will do better. I have nothing but love and kindness in my heart. I will continue to try to make the world a better place. And once again, to everybody, I apologize.
No, I don't know. It seems to me that is actually very expedient. Like, if he doesn't do it, he's going to lose his brand, right? But I just wonder how many people are going to, like, what's the percentage of people that got on him for Hulk Hogan? And the percentage of people who didn't give a shit. I don't know. Let's be generous. Let's say 15% of his swolies found it offensive, and the other 75% didn't. Maybe 10. If they're loud enough and insistent enough, it will get your attention. So it's not always a numbers game. It's a volume game. And look, dude, you made an error, theoretically, because you were into it as a kid and you wanted to celebrate his life. Hulk Hogan was not perfect. And he made lots of errors. He made a lot of errors. And that's an opportunity, right? To say that, you know, he's an imperfect man. I'm an imperfect man. But I'll tell you that the thing that he doesn't have, and you may laugh at this or you may scoff at it, is that he does not have a relationship with Christ. If he had a relationship with Christ, he could say Hulk Hogan was an imperfect man. And the last year of his life, he was baptized, he was born again, he had given his life over to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And it was a reminder that I'm not a perfect man. And because of my faith, right, I'm actually able to forgive Hulk Hogan for what he has done to other people, which I may or may not know the complete truth about. And I spent time in prayer, and based upon the fact that I was not aware of what happened in his life, I got a really strong message that I'm imperfect, but I'm forgiven too. And I'm sure everyone here who has held me to a certain standard and held Hulk Hogan to a certain standard, that you're going to error in your life and you're going to fail in your life. And in those moments, you may not be a content creator. So not everybody's going to see the fact that, well, you're human. But I hope that you remember this, and that whatever you have done or will do in the future that is contrary to your own beliefs, or the beliefs of the Creator, God, that you're already forgiven, and I will forgive you too. And I'm not going to take the videos down because I want them to be a reminder of an imperfect man. And I want them to remind me that I'm an imperfect man. And that I can strive towards being better and more loving, godly, courageous, and wise. Man, you go there, you got it covered, right? And this is one of the things that Jason Whitlock talks about, is that you either have a biblical worldview or you don't. And if you have a biblical worldview, it's almost like you have this spiritual armor, right? Where you can, and I'm not dissing Jason at all, but you can say things and do things, and you can say, you know what, I was wrong. I was a knucklehead, but I was shown the error of my ways, and I'm striving to live this life. This is the only thing that's really important to me, not any idol worship, not anything else. It is my relationship with the Creator and, my Lord and Savior, Jesus. It is the most unassailable position that a person can have in social media. Now, you may have people who are atheists and doubters, and they'll always be there. But again, if you're that strong and that convicted in your faith, there's no way you lose. And this is a man who has no faith. What does he believe in? Right? What does he believe in? Matt Walsh, this is all Mercury retrograde, Leo, right? He's walking it back. Hulk Hogan's a Leo. And I don't know much about this guy, but he's one of these guys that has done very well at getting people to like him and like his message. His whole thing is likability. And that's fine, but if you do something that goes off script and you all of a sudden have to deal with the wrath of your followers, and you're no longer as likable as you were, that is a crisis. And this guy, whoever, cannot base their brand or their validity on being liked. You can't do it. It's not everybody's going to like you, right? It's just the way it is. And if you do that, you're just like a reed blowing in the wind, and you're going to blow whichever direction the public tide and current is taking you. He's trying to rebuild himself, and I just wonder, first of all, is it enough for the 10 to 15% that want to cancel and destroy him? Well, that's an easy answer. No, it's never enough. It is never, ever, ever enough, right? Like all of a sudden, he'll get an email from somebody, and it'll be someone who'll say, "Hey, listen, we got somebody here who's a counselor, and they'll help you, and they'll be part of your kind of re-education process. And if you do this, it's almost like you're getting a stamp, the seal of approval. Whoever that person is, I guarantee you, he's going to get that communique, right? He's going to get that communique. And then what'll happen is they go, okay, well, how far can we go with him? Can we get him to speak to his white privilege? And how his white privilege has allowed him to become, do you understand what I'm saying? It's a really slippery fucking slope. The other 75%, they probably don't care that much. So he's doing cartwheels for 15% at the max, who are going to take him to task. And this is just getting started for this dude. I can tell you that right now. He's just getting started. Who knows? Maybe it'll be good for him. I don't know. Maybe 10 years from now, he'll have a bunch of tats and shit, and he'll be a hard ass, and I don't know. He'll be out with Giuseppe. Just another example of Mercury retrograde. Okay, I think we're good. Here's what I like about this format of this show. We've been going for an hour and a half, and we got a strong group, 194 people. Usually, if I'm running off to do 15 minutes of flame, the numbers will drop by 25, 30, 40 people. But we've been pretty strong through this entire hour and a half experience. I like the new format. I like to stretch out a little bit, and we're able to take things that are contextual socially and weave them into the fabric of astrology. So there you go. All right. Take good care. Love you all. Watch out for those astrological road hazards out there. I think I might have hit a pothole myself this morning. Anyway, treat each other well. God bless. Love you all. Bye for now.